All right, our next transformation is rotations. To me, rotations are probably the most complicated. In part, that's because a couple of the others are pretty easy, but there are more steps or more things to keep straight with rotations. Last class, they paid attention pretty well. Almost all of them got it real well. So to start with, at the very top middle of your sheet, just draw like a coordinate plane like that. I'll label it up here, and you just kind of label it along. This is going to be pretty important or pretty helpful for rotations. So to start with, quadrant 1 is in the top right, and it makes like a C shape. The rotation we go is counterclockwise. So we go 2 is there, 3 is there, 4 is there. All right, so label your quadrants on your sheet. Then the other thing we want to do is we want to be able to know what the signs are in each quadrant. So our x-axis goes from left to right. Which direction's positive? Right is positive. So any quadrant on the right side is going to have a positive x value. Any quadrant on the left side is going to have a negative x value. All right, then your y-axis goes up and down. Which direction's positive there? Up. So anything up, anything on the top half, are positive y values. Anything on the bottom half are negative y values. So quadrant 1 is positive, positive. Quadrant 2 is a negative, positive. Quadrant 3 is negative, negative. Quadrant 4 is positive, negative. When we do our rotations, this is going to be very helpful. This is stuff we went over in 6th grade math, but some of y'all don't always remember all that stuff. All right, so when we have a rotation turns a figure around a fixed point called the center of rotation. For our examples, it says, but basically for 8th grade math, the center of rotation is going to be the origin. When you get into higher levels of math, they might put a center of rotation elsewhere, but for 8th grade math, we're just using the origin. So the center of a rotation is always going to be 0, 0, where your x and y axis meet. Okay? And all of our rotations are in increments of 90 degrees. So that means we got 90, 180, 270, and that's really it. The next one will be 360, but a 360 rotation just takes you right back where you started, so they don't do those. Okay? Figures can be rotated 2 directions. Clockwise or counterclockwise. Them, you could write it, draw arrows as well. But the first one is clockwise, second one is counterclockwise. Y'all, there are 2 clocks in this classroom that have second hands on them. The one above the door is not as easy to see from far away because of how the colors are. But the one up here, you got a red second hand on a white background. So if you ever can't remember, you can always look at the clock and see the direction the second hand spins. That's going to be clockwise. That's why it's called clockwise. Each quadrant is a 90-degree rotation. So if I've got my 4 quadrants, if I am starting up here and I go 90 degrees clockwise, that means I'm going 1 quadrant. If I go another quadrant, that's 180. If I go a third quadrant, that's 270. So each 90 degrees is going another quadrant, okay? Everybody count with me so far? All right, so if we look at these, we got some rotations going on here. Number 1, A starts off in quadrant 2. A prime is in quadrant 1. So if we had a clockwise rotation, that means we went over 1 quadrant. Everybody see that? And every 1 quadrant is 90 degrees. So 1 is 90 degrees. We could also get to the exact same spot by going counterclockwise. If we went counterclockwise, we'd have 1, 2, 3 turns, 3 rotations, right? So 3 turns would be 270. All right? So 90 degrees clockwise, 270 degrees counterclockwise are the same thing, really. All right, so B and B prime, number 2 here. If we go clockwise, that's 1, 2, 3. So that's 270. If we went counterclockwise, that's just going to be 1 turn. So that is 90. So when you got 90s or 270s, the direction you go really matters because otherwise it's going to end up screwing it up. Now with C and C prime here, if I go clockwise, that's 1, 2 turns, right? So that is 180 degrees. If I go counterclockwise, that's 1, 2 turns. That's 180 degrees still. 180 is usually the easy one. It doesn't matter which order. Clockwise, counterclockwise, the big mistakes eighth-graders make. When it's 180, it doesn't matter. End up the same spot either way. Okay? Everybody with me there? All right, so when you go 90 degrees, that's 1 turn. 180 is 2 turns or 2 quadrants. And then 270 is 3. There is something else that happens with it too. The order on your numbers. So, Heaven, give me 2 numbers. Positive or negative, whatever. Yeah, 2 numbers. Let's go single digit. 5 and 8. All right, so she said 5 and 8. If I say my ordered pair to start with is 5, 8, every 90 degrees, the order on those numbers switches. So if I go 90 degrees, that means I'm going to end up with 8, 5. If I go 180, it's going to switch back because that's 1 more turn. So I'd have 5, 8. And then 270, it switches again. So that's going to be 8, 5. Okay? Every 90 degrees, we switch the order on the X and the Y value. Now, the signs I left off. The signs depend on what quadrant you end up on. So The point she gave us was 5/8. If we say that's 5/8 right there, 90 degrees, it depends on which way I go. If I go 90 degrees clockwise, that's going to put it down here. That's going to make it a positive and then a negative. If I go 90 degrees counterclockwise, that's going to put it up there where it's negative, positive. So that'd be a -8 and a +5. Everybody kind of follow? And if I went 2 turns, it's going to put it down here on quadrant 3 where it's negative, negative, but it makes it a -5 and a -8. So you see, every 90 degrees, we're switching the order on those numbers. The signs be based off of the quadrant, okay? Any questions on that? None of this is like horribly difficult. It's just a lot of things to keep straight with rotations. All right, so let's look at this one. We got rectangle FGA. It's going to be rotated 90 degrees clockwise. We need J prime. So look, we don't need to worry about all the other points, do we? Some problems will ask you and have like all of the points as answer choices. But this one is just asking about J. So that's the only point we have to worry about. A lot of times the easiest thing to do is to get your ordered pair to start with. Okay? So J, the X value is 2. The Y value is -3. I rotate clockwise 90 degrees. So 90 degrees is 1 turn. Clockwise means I'm going and I'm putting it over there. So that puts it in quadrant 3, right? What are the signs for quadrant 3? Negative, negative. And I got to switch the order on my numbers. So I'm going to have a -3 and a -2. Okay? Everybody kind of with me on that? So each time when you rotate, just make sure you're getting it in the correct quadrant and paying attention to those signs. And every 90 degrees, it's switching the X and the Y. All right, y'all give this one a try. No picture to it. It gives you the ordered pair. I think it's easier when it gives you the ordered pair. Saves you a little step. Some people prefer. All right, L prime. Eliana? +9, +3 is correct. All right, so look, we got L starts at negative, negative. So that means L is down here, quadrant 3. We go 180 clockwise. So 1, 2. That's putting L prime up there in quadrant 1. Quadrant 1 is positive, positive. So if I start off at -9, -3, 90 degrees means I switch it to 3 and then 9. 180 means it's back to 9 first and then 3. And then we just pay attention to the signs. The signs are positive, positive in quadrant 1, so it's just 9, 3 as our ordered pair. Okay? I said there's not any one crazy difficult thing to do. It's just a couple different things to keep straight each time. All right, try another one. This time point G. Y'all, G to start with is -6, +4. The negative just kind of got split up. Brian, what you got? -4, -6 is correct. All right, so G is negative positive, a negative X value, and a positive Y value. Wait, no, he wasn't right. Yeah. No. All right, so G, negative positive. Negative positive means G is starting up here on the top left. That was supposed to be a G, it just connects itself. All right. Negative X's are to the left, positive Y's are to the top, so we're starting off top left. 270 is 3 turns, and we're going counterclockwise. So we got 1, 2, 3. That's putting us with G prime in quadrant 1. Okay? Then, if we had -6, +4, a 90-degree turn goes to 4-6, 180 goes back to 6-4, 270 changes it back to a 4 and then a 6, and it's positive, positive, so it's +4, +6. Okay? Any questions on that?